believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 after 7, how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. On this final day of September, we are glad that you're tuned in. Asante Sana, whether it's Spice FM, whether it's KTN, or Facebook, or YouTube, or TikTok, or X, or Radio Garden, or the podcast of your choice. This is not a radio show, it's not a TV show, it's a show, all right? It's in everywhere. There is no other show in the Republic or even in the region that is in so many platforms live at the same time and that you can find even after the show has gone off air. Yeah?
Yep.
None other. Sawa. We tell you to think about your own lifestyle and you want to make it easier for you. That's why we make it easy for you to access us wherever, whether you can stream us on YouTube or you can stream us on podcast, on Radio Garden, or you watch TV or you listen to the radio. It's about just making your life easier. Don't stress looking for the Situation Room. Same thing. Don't stress with your financial matters. Why wait? Well, you can loop it.
Absolutely. So imagine an app that basically allows you to loop everything that you need to do with your transactions, right? So on one place, you can get all your bills paid. You can transact between your mobile wallet and your bank account. You can set up standing orders. You can apply for an overdraft. You can apply for and get a personal loan. You can, even as a business merchant, pay your suppliers. You can advertise on it so that folks can know what's coming up next from your business. Imagine all of this from the comfort of your mobile phone. So all you did was that you downloaded the Loop app on the Google Play Store or Apple App Store, and then you're getting into this world of a lifestyle change which allows you to do everything from the click of a button on your phone. Why wait when you can loop it?
Indeed. You know, when you talk about some of these things, that, you can do these things online, you can do these things online, we make several assumptions. We assume that it's always been like this. We actually forget that just a few 15 years ago, if you needed internet at home,
Where?
My God, I remember actually applying and getting some very slow internet speeds, and I wanted to go into IPTV. And I wanted to, I wanted to actually watch IPTV. Hey, the thing,
Teeth pulling.
256 Mbps. There's no way you'd be able to stream. No way. Nowadays, people are watching Manu getting beaten yesterday, and they were streaming the game at home.
At home.
Comfortably. These are the things that you do. When you talk about, nowadays, I work from home, I'll take my meeting from home, just send the link.
No, why do I have to come meet you? Just send the link.
What do you want us to do? You need Zoom, Teams, just send the link. I'll be, wherever I'll be at home. You take your meeting from home, right? You stream from home. Your children don't need to go to school. They're, feeling unwell, a little bit under the weather, but then they can actually join the class from home. We make all these assumptions. Over the last 10 years, this has been made possible by Safaricom Home Fiber because they've invested extensively in this. And Safaricom Home Fiber is now countrywide. Wherever you are in most of the major towns, you'll actually find Safaricom Home Fiber and you'll be able to connect. These are some of the things that we assume. Because of that, investment, over 500,000 homes have been connected to Safaricom Home Fiber. And they make it easier and easier and easier. And those who are thinking, okay, I'd like to get some very good fast internet speeds, what do I do? It's simple.
It's simple?
Yeah, it's very simple.
How do I go about it?
Just star 400 hash. Just that. Star 400 hash. And you go through the steps and they will come, do free installation for you, bring you a free router, 5G router. And they've invested so much that now even the internet speeds were increasing. We'll tell you about the increase in internet speeds.
Oh, sounds fantastic.
Think about it. Think about your life and how easy it has become today. And remember, there's actually a company that invested so much over the years.
To make it easy for you today.
To make it easy for you today. And they have not stopped. They're still doing the same. Arnold Maliba is our next guest for the next 1 hour. Arnold is very many things at the ruling UDA. He is the head of policy and public affairs. That's a big title, right? Comes second to party leader.
We have a deputy party leader.
Okay.
And by the way, before we actually move anywhere, Manchester United was not beaten.
Okay, they were throttled. Okay, sorry.
No, again, that is wrong.
Okay.
Just a little fear of God that we learned yesterday as fans. Okay, actually, one of those things I wanted to ask is if it's possible to ask Parliament to prioritize. Probably they need to impeach the current head coach before they do any other thing. Tomorrow, when
Current head coach of the country.
they can actually deal
no,
with
that
the
can
Ten
be
Hag.
done. I mean,
so that
if
they serve voters. Otherwise, we will not have voters.
it's not a problem. If it involves anything that doesn't actually include representation, legislation, and oversight, Parliament is very quick to act. So
No, they need to serve their voters.
Parliament of Kenya.
Yes.
So I said anything that doesn't
If you
involve
want
those
Parliament of Kenya to impeach Ten Hag, they will do it. They will do it quick, fast,
Tomorrow, that should be the curtain raiser before they do any other thing.
before they do any other business.
Yeah.
How are you doing, though?
I'm fine.
Good to see you here. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Mzee is still away. He's taken some days off. He'll be back next month.
So who's doing the proverbing?
I'm giving you the proverb.
Okay.
This week, the proverbs will be from the Gambia. Do you know how many countries neighbor the Gambia?
I think just one, because Gambia literally runs a long river Gambia. So I think it's only embedded in one country.
Which one?
That one. but I know it's a country embedded inside another one.
Inside another country. You got that right. What country is it, Ndo?
Senegal.
The Gambia is inside Senegal. Last week, the proverbs are from Senegal. So today, we have now entered into the belly of Senegal and found the Gambia.
Senegal Pro Max.
Today's proverb, people get fed up even with honey. People get fed up even with honey. What do you think?
I think it has got an English equivalent that says too much of something is poisonous. I bet that everything has got its threshold upon which then it should be engaged or indulged in. So whatever you're doing, you have to get to a point where the statement "fair enough" makes sense. Yeah.
Do you think so, right?
Yeah.
In 2022, at the end of August like this, going into September, it appeared that the honey was UDA. Do you think people are fed up with this honey?
UDA as the leader of society, the party that then guides where we are going for the next 5 years. Literally at this particular moment, I think we've covered 2. We now have got 3 more to go. You wouldn't necessarily say that in 2022 that was the honey, because slightly less than half of the population still felt that they weren't properly represented then. Then UDA alone is not what constitutes the governance structure of the country today. We have got people who are elected on other parties elsewhere. That too is government. So I might...
Which party got the most elected leaders in 2022 elections?
Of course, UDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So UDA was the honey in 2022.
Unless you talk about the other parties as deputy honeys, but... yes.
We are talking about UDA.
So
was UDA the honey or not in 2022?
It still is.
Okay.
Yeah.
People are not fed up.
People could be fed up with ideas, but not the concept of what UDA stands for.
Okay. People are not fed up with the concept of honey.
People could be angry with, because if you get fed up with honey today, you'll still need it tomorrow. You'll need it a day after. It doesn't lose its value or essence just because today I've had enough of honey. So the point is that whereas there could be a little bit of issues, like for example, what we're trying to do at the moment, we are having conversations with young people across the country, specifically targeting college-going students, having a conversation. Because like I've said before, conversations and dialogue looks easy, but it's so difficult, and that is where people fight physically. People would rather get into shouting matches, lashing up, but not talking, because talking is difficult. Yeah.
Okay. So in the position where someone could be tired of something, something has, gotten them fed up, as we see, which is normal human habit, that you're likely to look for an alternative for that thing which you're tired of or that you're frustrated with. You don't like the taste anymore. Do you think that that could be a threat, potential one, to say that, okay, this UDA thing that was promised to us, or these tenets or ideologies or whatever it is that was presented, are just not working for Kenyans anymore, and that they might look for an alternative?
That line feels so much like a cheater's line.
A cheetah like the animal, or a cheetah somebody who plays
a
you?
cheetah who plays.
Oh, okay.
You get fed up with the ndu, and then of course you can use around that. But then the human nature is not structured. Even society, the structure of society is not made in a way that we can walk away whenever we don't feel like. Because whereas your emotions are actually valid, they are valid at any particular point, a behavior out of that always needs measure. Because if then we equate our emotions and behavior, then we lose that. We will not be a civil society. We will not be civilized. We will not be people. But the human animal and the human society is way, way complex, and it cannot be addressed in a linear manner, such as that particular line. That for me looks quite linear because it's quite complex. Just because we have had a few complaints here and there doesn't really necessarily mean that now I can walk away from family. It doesn't mean that today, if I don't feel like I'm a Kenyan, I can simply, of course, we've got the option of denouncing it. But deep down, we know we are still Kenyans and we love being Kenyans. So everything else is superficial. Otherwise, that concept might not really apply in the discussion that we are having, at least for the purpose of the conversation that we're having now. Yeah.
Okay.
If because we invited you so we can look back at what's happened, this year.
Yes.
Towards the middle of the year, when you had the Gen Z protests, we saw the reaction, we saw the response from the government, and we are seeing now the political mood of the country. Do you think the political mood of this country at present, what we are seeing politically, what we are seeing, the Deputy President impeachment threats coming, and so on and so forth, do you think it's a reflection of what the people were communicating to those in leadership in June, July?
I do not think so. And that's why I think I'm so happy to have this particular conversation, that we are so quick to forget a lot of times, or rather we would love to forget where we've come from in the last 3 months or so. But from where I sit, and even where we sit as a party, we know and we acknowledge one thing, that the foundations of our politics changed fundamentally. That our politics changed in a way that cannot be wished away. And that them that are in leadership, whether you are elected as an MCA, an MP, or whatever you are doing, you must remember one thing, that we will still not organize politics the way we used to. After 25th June, the country changed. The country we have is very, very different. And that I would say partly is because of the Kenya Kwanza approach to politics. Because for the longest time, we had embraced the politics of identity. It's Kenya Kwanza that pushed through the politics of issues. And if you look at, meaningfully that is, and if you look at the Gen Z protests in June, from May coming all the way to July, you will actually realize that they were simply issue-based. Those young people really did not care if you are donning yellow, you are donning orange, whatever color you're putting on. If you are in charge of an office, you've got something to do in the provision of public goods, just do your damn job. That is all they wanted, and that is all they still want. Why I say that what we have now, and that is why for me I don't think that what we are giving preference, or rather what we are giving priority on front pages, is anything that actually speaks to the situation of the country. But that then speaks to a lot of our politicians, that they've forgotten where we've come from very fast. I do not think that the noises that we see now are a priority as to what Kenyans want. We still do not have a finance bill in place. That is a process, is still ongoing. Partly why counties are straining and so many government functions actually are lying flat is because our budgeting cycle was interrupted during that particular session. People actually had a referendum. They went to parliament. They had what essentially in proper societies would pass for a motion of no confidence to the House of the People. And therefore, the people in parliament must raise above the fray. They must actually not go back to business as usual. What I see is an attempt to go into business as usual, where bickering and roadside politics then make a return. I don't think Kenyans are so enthusiastic about this. If it were before June 25th, this would have been a big issue and you would actually have seen it move masses. You realize that Kenyans are moving on as usual. It's not so much, even as few people would wish probably to spur up emotions. That is not working. But then it's important that we remind politicians that we can't go to business as usual.
Why is it so hard for them to get it?
Because people sometimes are afraid to think. Thinking, like talking also, looks so simple, but it's very difficult. Everyone else wants to do every task easily. So you would rather run with the politics of identity as opposed to tackling issues. If you were to ask me, I do not think as UDA, and this, of course, is self-incriminating, that as UDA, as Kenya Kwanza, as the broad-based team now that is actually delivering government, that we have actually fulfilled whatever we had, and what is now of priority, for example, is the impeachment of the deputy president. That should happen. It should be silent down there if they have got problems. That's why we at the secretariat in the party are waiting for the organ that is the parliamentary group, the PG, to meet tomorrow. They give us directions and we move with it, we dispense of it just as any other business, because we are in government to deliver public goods. We are in this to actually administer state. And this is not part and parcel of it. It's one of those footnotes that should not be given a lot of priority. But then politicians really need to remember that the way those who are elected came to power is not the same way they'll be elected in 2027. Kenya changed, and it changed so much.
It's no different from what has happened historically. It's no different that we'll always see dog wagging when it comes to issues that should actually be discussed and paid attention to. There's way too much going on in the country at the moment to then have us all held hostage, in my opinion, to things like this. There's too much going on, and there's too much that needs attention. But I'm curious as to what you said has changed in the way politics is being done, because if you ask me, nothing has changed and it still continues to be the same thing. From June 25th until today, September 30th, what would you say has changed in the way things have been delivered for Kenyans from a government perspective, from a political point of view?
I think so far the government did align with the changes that had actually happened, because the body politic actually brought new rules to how we do our politics. And up to now, I do not think that the issues that brought people out there have really fully been worked on, because a number of them, of course, were systemic. A number of them take long, but the quick ones that were worked out ended up there. But there are still a few issues that I feel, they're not few, there are still many issues, specifically in the way we administer state, in the way we provide public services, in the way we treat running of public affairs, that need to go back to where the post-25th Kenya. But then that's why I'm actually thinking that, and then if we were to change, I don't think that it's this the politics that is holding this. If you go to the party, business is going on as usual. This is not even a major issue. Also, the media also need to actually realize that as a country, we moved on. Otherwise, we will actually push ourselves into extinction.
Moved on from what, Arnold? Because I think that forms the basis of my question. Moved on from what?
We have moved on from business as usual. When I talk about business as usual, I'm talking about business politics the way we used to conduct it before the Gen Z. When such like headlines were the drivers of traffic, when such headlines were what actually dictated what the masses want to hear. The masses want much more than that. Tomorrow, we should be going into the social health platform, moving away from NHIF. It's actually of so much concern. There are so many questions that are being asked. But you look at the headline today, that takes a second page. And that does not just speak to the media alone, also speaks to the politicians. That if they still think, and that cuts across, that if they still think that we will run with the politics of identity, that we will go around doing this vipindire and drama, these razzmatazz, it will not get them elected, because you can actually feel the anger. We at the party are cognizant of that particular fact, that there's anger out there. The issues raised were legit. So they still are unaddressed. And this is not, whereas it's important when it comes to democracy, because the structure is as important as the work it does. This cannot be something that we are giving so much bandwidth. We are giving too much space to this. But this thing should be a page 3 story.
So then, I'm going to ask again, Arnold, what has changed in the way business is done from a government perspective, from a government point of view, between the 25th of June, after those protests arose, and today? What did those protests bring about that has made the administration of the day sit up and say, okay, actually, you know what? We can't do this. We can't continue to have corruption through every single fiber of government. We cannot continue to give lackluster leadership when it comes to things like education and health and infrastructure. The shift that you talk about is in a mess already, and it's not even been rolled out. Education is through the roof in terms of nonsense that's going on from here to there. We are talking about infrastructure that has not been built. My question is, because of the protest that came about on the 25th of June, how different do we see business being done as a result of that?
I think everything has changed except for a little bit of parliament. But if you were to look at the executive, there is much more listening. Public participation has changed. The approach of how we are doing public participation is a little bit different.
From the executive side?
From the executive side. We at the party, for example, have moved away from just allowing people in government to do their work. You know, the first contact between the people and this particular government is the party.
Yep.
It is the party that went to the people and sought for votes and support. Now, the party is actually getting the heat and getting the feedback from the ground. We are also then flipping it the other side and engaging, asking the people we gave jobs. Because the truth is this, that whereas the people in the administration can actually feel like we are in government, the party that actually formed, the coalition that actually gave them that job, is the Kenya Kwanza administration. So we are also working out to a place where we are bringing them down there. So, like for example, on Saturday we were in Mombasa with young people from Mombasa. And we brought leaders. We bring PSS, we bring directors and other people so that the passion that you see on social media, the questions that people want answers for, they be there. Unless, you know, sometimes when you come and tell somebody, this is what the people are saying. I know of a political party leader who will ask, not my political party leader, of course, who will ask, who are the people? But then people in government asking you, we know we are the experts. We are bringing them on the ground to also have a listening part of it. So one thing that we are doing as a government is that we've chosen to actually listen much more. We are engaging conversations. We know that it's hot. And no one has been doing that in the past. It's been easy. Your MP comes to you and speaks to you in a funeral, and that is where it changes in the past, and that was as much as you will engage. But now we've actually moved that. It's structured. It's formal. The same way you're actually seeing ministries doing the same, they're actually reaching out differently. So on the implementation side, and I would love you to see how we go forward, especially the executive side, on how we will actually tackle the finance bill.
So, wait, before we go.
So that has worked out. But on parliament.
So right now,
yes,
the executive is listening. It's engaging with a view to listen.
Yes.
So let's talk about the main things that are happening in the country right now.
Yeah.
The education ministry, okay?
Yes.
And the university funding model. Show me the listening bit. The health ministry and the rollout of SHIF from tomorrow. The listening bit. How different are those two ministries from March this year?
Earlier this year, I was on this platform, and I think at that point we had somebody from HEF. I think that was a CEO or something like that.
What is HEF?
That's the Higher Education Fund.
The University Fund.
Yes. We had a conversation here. It's not just the University Fund, because it's also taking care of the TVET. So we had a conversation around that. The whole thinking around the new model is noble. It's solving a lot of problems that we've had in the past. There is a reason why it's being done. One of the problems it's had, and that has been a consistent problem within this particular administration, has been under-communicating. But you asked me what is the listening bit. There's been hue and cry about its implementation. There are questions, and as usual, it's a new tool. It's had a problem, especially it's having its teething problems here and there. What have we done? The ministry, the presidency, the government of the day has actually decided to put up a big team, of course, segmented into several teams, to go through it, over it. And largely they are looking at the implementation, because partly one of the problems we're trying to solve is to ensure that universities get out of the date of about 70 billion shillings, that financing for universities becomes sustainable. That courses really cost exactly what they are supposed to be, and that funding does not compromise quality. That is, everybody understands that bit. It's the implementation side that has a problem. We've even brought university students who actually are sitting on that. Even though if you were to look at public service requirements, is that for you to sit on a technical committee, you would need a first degree. But for this, There is one thing young people have and university students have that the rest of us don't have. The experience in being students at that particular point. No one else can beat them. As much as you and I were there earlier, you were not there during such a moment as this. So they have got that experience.
The ministry is listening.
Yes, it is. And that is why we have
the
got
Ministry
that
of
team.
Education, led by the CS and the PS for higher education and all, at what point have they engaged with the students? Because I have seen the president in town halls engaging the students.
Yes.
The ministry itself. By the time the students were going on strike or were threatening to go on strike, and the ministry saying, please don't go on strike, we're going to form teams. At what point was this listening ministry engaging with the students?
The ministry had gone through the policy cycle, as it were, for everything else. By the time when we were coming here, I think we were 3 of us here at that point, that when we actually sat through that, the ministry had done policy the way we actually had done, with a very light public participation arm. But largely, I'm thinking one of the priorities that Parliament should be prioritizing should be effecting the public participation bill. 13 years down the line, we can't have a bill lying somewhere on a shelf.
So the bottom line is, because we don't have a public participation bill, we cannot really say that the Ministry of Education in July, August, September has done anything different from how it was doing things in January, February, March.
Yes.
The Ministry of Health, again, the same. Ministry of Health is rolling out a new health program from next week, from tomorrow, right?
Yes.
As employers are deducting money from their employees, this time it's end of the month, has there been proper engagement for the employers to know now, when we deduct the 2.5% or whatever, this is where we are directing it to? Can we say that this Ministry of Health is doing anything different from how it was doing things in March this year?
Other than who is doing what and who is implementing what, this is one of those programs that has actually been out here for a very long time. It's been litigated upon. We've gone to court so many times over here. This thing was supposed to actually be onboarded last year, not this year.
We know that.
Yes. I'm saying it's a whole year. What has actually been happening is that we've been having a conversation, sometimes through courts, sometimes through legislation, sometimes in open conversations, as we are doing now. There's been sensitization. They've gone out there and spoken. So for the many times that it's been postponed, and again, it will be important that we communicate this properly, that they are migrating to a new platform and that we are not starting from scratch. That even as the employers work out that, there are systems in place to migrate it easily onto the new platform. That is understood. But of course now, there are other procurement attendant questions that are actually are coming up now. So those questions should not cloud the process.
Don't mix two issues. There is the issue, yes, that you're raising, the accountability in the procurement process and all. And then there's the issue of the user.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Does your relative, where is that village that you told me?
I come from a village called Nabunulu.
Yes.
Nabunulu is a place a place of delicious things.
Does the person who comes from that place of delicious things called Delulu? It's called
Not Delulu. Nice try.
Nabululu.
Nabunulu.
Does somebody in Nabunulu know what's happening from tomorrow?
Yes, quite a number.
Do
of
they
people.
know
Yes.
that, I register into this thing? Do they know that I then get to pay towards this thing? That's how I shall get services into this thing? Do they know?
Yes, they do. Actually, there has been massive and lengthy sensitization around this. People are being talked to. You can actually look at what is actually happening. And that's why I'm saying that we are mixing two things here.
In Nabululu?
People are doing it on phone. It's on radio. It's everywhere. You are on radio here, but then this one is a full spectrum radio.
Yeah, and I haven't had it.
You've not heard it?
In Nabululu.
Sorry. No, I have to ask you this because to be very clear.
Even on Radio Maisha, our sister station, I listen to it throughout.
You've not?
There's awareness on what you're supposed to do, and then there's awareness that tomorrow, if you walk into hospital, tomorrow, the 1st of October in Nebululu, will you actually get services without paying another extra cent?
Actually, it's a very small village. It doesn't have even a hospital. It's so small that
let's take a break. 24 minutes to 8. Arnold Maliba, Head of Policy and Public Affairs at the UDA, is our guest today. We're looking at the government posts June 25th. Have things changed in the way the party the government, the ruling party, are organizing and communicating with Kenyans. Take this break. We'll be back shortly.